Today I'm joined by Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hello.
We're here to talk some D&D. So tell me your relationship at the moment with Dungeons and Dragons and all the other TTRPGs.
Well, to be honest, if I told the truth, I was something I never thought I'd even get into. I thought I got talked into it because we used to have like board game nights up at my friend's house and stuff like that. It was like, oh, sick of setting up and putting down these same board games, losing off where we were and whatnot. So they mentioned starting D&D, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, it seems a bit too much.
Yeah.
So we started off, just played Lost Mines.
Mm-hmm.
Hooked straight away. As soon as that was it. But like I said, I mentioned in their messages to you, I enjoyed Starter Kit, and we went on to play Tyranny of Dragons, Horde of the Dragon Queen. Same characters, so we just played them all the way through. Like life cleric, so I started off with, pretty basic, but like you get a bit of everything. You get the attack and you get the spells. You get to use it all. But I just thought, going back to when I started DMing, I couldn't run a pre-written. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I try to run Icewind Dale, and I know it's a bit complicated for like a first time DM, but like it's a great setting. But as a campaign goes, you've literally got to read it cover to cover.
Yeah.
And like there's the parts where if you miss like a certain little bit, and then your players, like the best example I can give, you go to one of the towns, and I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the mayor or whatever, one of the speakers of the town, is being killed. You're like, oh God, my players instinctively ask, how did he die?
Yeah.
I hadn't read that bit further on in the book, so I made it up. I winged it.
Yeah.
Then when they actually get to a certain building, his body's in there. And I was just like, oh, right, I see. So it's going completely homebrew. Like, both my campaigns that I've done have been set just on islands.
Yeah.
I don't really want to make this gigantic world that I sort of like developing the game as we go. So like the stuff the characters do and the players do sort of becomes lore.
Yeah.
So I'll have like a skeleton, I'll have like a map, some towns written out, key locations, key people in the town. I'll have an underlying story, which will show itself eventually. But what I try to do is I try to take from their backstories and sort of I find that it makes it a lot more engaging for them.
Yeah.
When they've got something on the line. Like, if they're it's quite hard to say to a group of adventurers, right, well, this has got nothing to do with you, but I want you to go and do this thing that might make you die.
Yeah.
Like, but when it's something personal to them, we seem like a lot more invested in it.
That's the problem I had. Yeah. I mean, I've not even fixed that yet. Every time, let's say we're playing Tomb of Annihilation, and this woman gets look, the world is ending, and you need to, come and do this. And all my characters, knowing we were playing this adventure, still went, why do we have to? Why do we care?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah, and so you're correct. Tying into the backstory is underrated.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It doesn't really get mentioned. It's like you can pick a backstory. It's up to you. No, it's central.
Like I've got, like I say, I'm just looking at me session 0 notes here. Like it's just on my laptop in the background. Because I'm going to try out some like new mechanics that I've been looking into and stuff, and just things that make it a bit more interesting. I had a bit of a thing on the Dungeons and Dragons UK. Put a post up just saying sort of, would anyone be interested in watching a real D&D stream? And it got taken a bit out of context at first. It was by real D&D, I meant cheap maps, not the right minis, just placeholders, like something that you could get a group of mates, sit round a table with pen and paper and just play.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of people being like, well, real D&D is whatever you class as D&D. And I was like, yeah, but you know what I meant. Like, you know what I meant. Like, which I do find, like, obviously it would be great to have all the Dwarven Forge stuff and all Hero Forge minis, and it'd be incredible. But I've said to a couple of my players who are also DMs as well, that's an interesting point when you're playing with other DMs. Sorry, because you try and like describe this monster, and as soon as you describe it, they know exactly what they're fighting because they've used it themselves.
Yeah.
But like, I also think that having all this terrain takes away from the imagination part of it. Like, I want my 4 players that are sat around the table to be able to imagine what I'm describing however they want to see it.
Yeah.
If I've got a giant castle terrain on the middle of the table, that's all they're going to see. And I just think, I don't think I could do full theatre of the mind, because I think combat would just be a headache. Trying to work out positioning and where you are. And
far away is there?
Yeah. You've moved this far. Well, yeah, but he's round the corner. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I've been like watching a couple of things and how to make your game more interesting and stuff. I had my favourite one that I think I saw, which, because I don't think critical hits do enough, to be fair. And I saw one of them where they basically, if they take more than 1 critical hit, or if they're actually knocked unconscious, they gain a level of exhaustion.
Yes, we do that in our game. We do 4 levels of exhaustion. You're not dead, obviously, but every round you lose a level of exhaustion. Because I hated that 1 hit point you're down, and then I'm fighting you as if I'm on full points. I'm like, no
way, nah.
So that's why we.
What was the other ones? If you get a level of exhaustion, you got a long rest is 24 hours.
Okay.
There's a couple of ones like sanity checks, like fear things that I don't know whether I'm actually going to put in yet. Because obviously they are adventurers, but they're not gods. They're still people. They're still scared of stuff. If you're going one into the wilderness, like, one of my characters he basically said that he's scared of anything bigger than him. Like, so, like, if there's any large or huge creatures, I'll get him to do like sort of like a wisdom save, but not as much.
Yeah.
Then stuff like resurrection spells being increased by 2 levels. Because I think, what is it, level 3 life cleric revivify? Like, you might get a first level. I'm not sure. 3rd level spell.
Not sure.
But I think it's insane that, like, you've got a person who is essentially, they're better than the average Joe wandering around the village, but they're still a low-level magic user, and they can bring someone back from the dead. Like, it's a bit.
Yeah. What do you think about Meteor Swarm if they made it 2 or even a 3-round cast? Because it's such a powerful spell.
Yeah.
Sure, you have to build up, and if you get like damaged or something, you have to then, I don't know, a concentration save or whatever. But I just think that'd be more exciting, that your party has to protect your wizard from getting.
Well, like charging. Yeah. That sounds good. Like, I like stuff like that, because it's like I said in that first message to you, I try to like call it common sense homebrew. Like, I know it's a fantasy game, but some stuff just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, grapple.
Well, yeah, there's the grapple. Then there's something that we came up against the other day, and I'll give him his dues. The guy who plays the fighter in my party agreed completely. Like, he brought it up. They were fighting a rock, and obviously as a fighter you get maneuvers. And he brought it up and said, "Oh, so what do you think about tripping attack? Because it causes the creature to go prone."
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you can't really trip a bird up that's flying. Like, I don't know how that works. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I never really thought about it like that." And I was like, well, you can roll a tripping attack, maybe roll it at disadvantage with a ranged weapon to clip its wing or something like that.
Yeah.
But I just try and work them out so it doesn't stop them using their abilities, but just so it makes more sense. Like, tripping I know you can't really trip a rock anyway because its cost is huge or whatever, but there's just some stuff that just makes no sense at all. Like, I do very much like the whole rule of cool thing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you play it to have fun. If you want to create these great like scenes and stuff in your head, sometimes you've got to bend the rules like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Like grapple, I have a problem with grapple. You mentioned that, and prone. Grapple, because we all thought, well, when I grapple a player, I'm bear hugging his arms to his body. That's what we all pictured. And you read it, it's like, no, if they are grappled, they can still attack. And it's like, oh, so you don't have your arms pinned. It's just like holding onto their sleeves or something, and it's disadvantage to attack. So when my players are like, can I grapple him? What they meant was, can I restrain him? And there's not a restrain roll, is there?
No.
Where there needs to be
that should actually, that needs to be a thing, I think.
Yeah, unless you just say, well, we use the grapple rule. But restrain is like, I want to pin his both arms behind his back, And is that too specific? Does that take away your monsters or character and NPCs attacks too easily? But I know it's quite an unpopular opinion. I quite like the thought. I'm like, look, if you can do that, I can do that. Because if that's the reality, but they always say, can I shoot the ogre in the eye so it's blinded? And I'm like, well, can I shoot you in the eye? Because I don't mind if you get a 20 plus when you go to the ACs, 13. If you get a 20 plus, yeah, you can shoot him in an eye, but I'm going to do that one time back. Not every time, but someone will try that,
See, for me, when it comes to blinded or like trying to knock someone prone by, I don't know, specifically trying to cut his foot off or break his ankle or something like that. I've had the blinded one. They were fighting the cloud giant, and they were like, "Oh, can I try and blind him so he can't so he's got disadvantage and whatnot?" And I was like, well, "How do you want to blind him?" And because they work together in such this like, we'll go over there, distract him while the rogue goes around, climbs up, and does all this stuff. Like, right, okay. All rolls made with disadvantage because it's so specific.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then like a higher AC because they're going for literally his eyeball rather than this massive target. So like where his AC might have been 16, I made it like 21.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, because like I say, I think trying to work around things to give them the most opportunities to try things is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I think just outright saying no, like you might as well be playing any board game.
Yeah. You want them to come away saying, I blinded a giant rather than, oh, well, I wasn't allowed to do that. So, yeah. It's the memories, isn't it, ultimately, what you're making?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think like I said, you might as well play any board game if you don't allow the freedom.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what I think it's all about. When it comes to like other tabletop stuff, like I play like Warhammer and stuff. Never done much Pathfinder or like Shadowrun or anything like that. I've been quite interested to do Shadowrun because I quite like the idea of the sci-fi vibe of it and how that works. But this next campaign I've written, like I've done it more sandbox. So they're just a group of adventurers in a world. Yes, they'll have people coming up to them with like bounties or mercenary jobs or whatever, but they're going to have to discover the actual underlying story themselves.
Yeah.
They've got their backstories played into it and that'll get brought up and whatnot. But I felt like because what I'd done with the first campaign that we're still playing, it was your sort of, not generic, but it was like basically an orb. There was like a powerful orb that got split and each one of the cities on this island got a part of the orb.
Yeah.
And this powerful wizard is basically trying to collect them so he can reforge the orb and have all this power. They've got to find the last shard before they do. So I think what I'd accidentally done is automatically railroaded everything.
Yeah, I guess.
Like I've navigated around it as best as I can, but I feel like it should have been for that story to work how it was written originally. I mean, it's been brilliant. We've been playing this campaign for a year and a half now.
Yeah.
So like it's been it's worked. But for the story to have been as what's the word I'm looking for?
Involved?
Yeah, for the story to have been as like exciting and sort of really up against the clock. It should have maybe been done as like a 3-session one shot where they didn't have other things coming into it.
Yeah.
And it really was just a race to find this last piece of the orb. But like I said, it's worked really well. It's turned itself around just by what the players have done.
So, Adam, when you're constructing the end game before you've even played, obviously you can't give it away because you've not finished it, but let's say something else. You were creating a campaign where you're like, do you think, the end fight needs to be in this dungeon, needs to be this guy? Do you not? Do you just think however they get to him, that's what it'll be?
They've already met him twice, just on rolls, just out of the blue. They were never meant to meet him right at the end. It was meant to be this big reveal. But the more they've done to like slow his progress, he sort of got in. He was talking to them like telepathically.
Oh yeah.
Basically, like, stop what you're doing, like, stop interfering, or you're all going to die, blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't know what you're messing with. And one of the players responded back to him and was like, oh, you're not even that powerful, you're scared, you won't even show yourself, blah, blah, blah. And I made a roll for this, basically an intelligence thing as to how he would react.
Yeah.
And in my head, I knew that I was only going to make this certain reaction on one roll, and so what happened, I rolled a natural one.
Yeah.
So he basically teleported himself to the party, revealed himself, cast power word kill on one of the players,
Yeah.
and vanished. But like the way it goes, like I don't even know what's going to happen anymore. Like they've changed things that much that it's still in the same world and it's still playing out sort of the same.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long the campaign's even going to last, because they could intimidate someone or find out where he is, then not even bother going for the shard and just go kill him. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's really good. That's really good. So how do you prepare for a session then if it's so open ended?
Session by session really is the only answer.
Give me a rundown from the DM side. Do you like pull out 3 areas, 3 monsters? What's the direction?
So because it is so open, I've got a lot of it's more social interactions than combat encounters. It's a lot more. You get your combat encounters when you go into dungeons or when you go into a cave, or they're currently like climbing a massive mountain. And they have all set monsters.
Yeah.
I know what's in there. I know how they're going to react. I mean, I still make the rolls, but because there's not too many big dungeon crawls or anything, I sort of already have the personalities for these NPCs.
Yeah.
Thought. But well, I'm trying to think really, because it is just so open that I do have notes and stuff like that, and I go from where they left off the last session. But I say, I genuinely can't prepare, because they are so good players as well. Like they will stay in character.
Yeah.
Most recent session, they were halfway up this mountain that they'd been trying to get to for ages.
Right.
One of the players' weapons is cursed. He basically started going crazy and attacking one of the other players. Obviously, none of the others know why.
Why? Yeah, I've had that.
So he doesn't really know why as a player, as a character. He just knows this thing happens when he does something. And because he wouldn't stop attacking the other player, our sorcerer dived on him and teleported them back to like the main city.
Nice.
And I was like, what? So now I'm running 2 sessions.
2 campaigns, yeah.
Like I've got 2 people that are still going up this mountain.
Yeah.
And 2 people that are back in a completely different city.
Yeah. It's their game, isn't it? It's their
game. The thing, like that's what I love as well. Like I love that feeling of me being out of water.
Yeah.
Like they'll do something and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you could have given me 100 chances to guess what you were going to do.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been one of them.
Yeah. I tell you what I struggle with. If they suddenly say they're going to a different plane or something and I've got no idea what it's like there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I hope they don't know too much about where it is, because I'm just going to wing this, you know. I don't want to. Well, it's not like this. It's meant to be all red and deserty, and you said we're in like oceany area. You know, I don't want that.
I think the one thing I messed up with was the first campaign, because it was meant to be so sort of secretive. I let them find a map really early on,
right?
And then all of a sudden, I don't have any control over where things are anymore.
Yeah,
because they know where things are.
Yeah,
Like, what I should have done probably is make them explore and just sort of maybe move things around behind the scenes. So if they start going the wrong way, if that's the thing, then just move where I need them to go to be where they're going. But once they've got a map, you can't do that.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to play as well.
Yeah.
I personally don't think I could play rules as written, because I think it'd just it'd take away, not the fun, it'd still be fun, but I think you'd just be double checking everything all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think once you start playing rules as written, you can mix. Obviously, everyone mixes, or you'd just be no rule system at all.
Yeah.
But I think when you start playing true raw, I think you're just always second guessing yourself. Or have I forgot something? Have I done this? Have I done that?
I don't believe anyone can play to the book 100%.
I mean, in like I said, when we had the first session 0, I said like no. So you've still got gems and jewels and like valuable items, but when it comes to currency, it's just all gold.
Exactly what we do, yeah.
And I just increase the price of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. Who's carrying around 6,000 copper pieces? You know what I mean?
You're right. I mean, I know, like you say, it's 2 copper for this pint, and you're like, no, I say, don't even take money off. You've got it. Just like you have change in real life, you don't even count it, do you? If someone said how much you got on you don't say the pence. It's like, I've got 50 quid.
Yeah.
But then when you get treasure hoards, right, it's like platinum. I'm like, yeah, they're going to ask me how much gold that is. Oh, you got 2,000 copper. Oh, I've got to think out. I just say, oh, right, there's 781 gold. End of.
Yeah. Divide that, because then you're not all splitting different things with different people, and then it's lost off anywhere because someone's got 6 million copper, which they couldn't carry anywhere.
That's right.
And then they're going to go and spend it as if it's gold anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Or when they come across like some sort of gems or something in a cave, or some that grey ooze, what you can like probably put in a glass bottle and make like a grenade out of because it explodes on impact, spores. Right. It's like, well, all right, how much of that? How many grenades can I make out of that? How much value and gems can I carry? And it's like, oh, this is real broken. Don't break the game. You're not a millionaire. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, it gets mixed reviews when I say it, but like, pretty much give them a bag of holding straight away.
Yeah.
So what's the point in not like? I know there's a lot of things where they say like a bag of holding's not just for carrying stuff, and it can be used to be like really overpowered. But they know that they know the craft. They know why I give them it. Like, if it's something really cool, I might let them try and, like, I don't know, if they want to try and sneak the halfling servant into a building by putting them in the bag of holding. Like, I'll let them do it, but I might make them take a few things out.
Well, you shouldn't be able to breathe in the bag of holding. That wasn't the rule.
No, you can't. So, as long as you're only in there for like a couple of minutes. I mean, that's the other thing that gets me, and we always laugh about it. Like when you have this massive combat scene and there's dragons and giants, and it was over in a minute and a half. Was it like 6 seconds around? It just doesn't seem realistic. Who's teleporting around with great swords and battle axes and how fast are you going?
Yeah. And when your big bad boss at the end gets like killed really quick, it's such a oh my god.
Yeah. It's happened a couple of times, but it's just been it's rolled, isn't it? You can't fight it. Like,
that's the beauty of it, I think, the randomness. And like you say, you mentioned that one earlier. It's like, hell, if I didn't want to roll that, but that's what the story dictates. I don't change it,
I think there's different ways and stuff. I'm like, one of my other mechanics that I've got to try with a next boss that's coming up is like a minion mechanic. So you might have X amount of minions, but they've all only got 1 hit point.
I tried it and hated it.
Really?
I tell you why, because I've got players who really they roll. I've done 26 damage. Yeah, well, whatever. Doesn't really matter because one's it takes away all the. Oh well, I did an excellent thing then.
Yeah, I suppose you're right there. Actually,
you know what I mean? Oh, I punished him. Yeah, he's dead. Oh, I did this cool move. I got double crits, and now he's dead anyway.
He's still dead. Yeah. You know what I mean? I suppose that is a thing. Yeah. I mean, the one that I read about was more for like the bosses using minions as like reactions.
Go on.
So if, I don't know, say you've got your warlock and they cast an Eldritch Blast, because that's what warlocks do.
Yeah.
The big bad can use their reaction, depending on what they are, obviously, to like grab a minion and make them take the hit instead. So it's a way of negating damage from them.
Yeah.
But I suppose it'd be all right if you're fighting like something with telekinesis or something, and they can just like drag them over in front. But if you're fighting a witch and she's got some minions, she's gonna like try and grab an orc and drag him in front of her or something.
I can just see my players going, well, that's what the NPCs are for, because they always call them meat shield.
Yeah.
And so they'll be like, all right, then we'll do the same. We'll just, are you everyone go in front? And you're like, yeah, if I'm doing that, they should be able to do that,
I suppose there is an element of that. Like, I watched that big argument about, you see the Silvery Barbs argument?
No.
Where it was like, it's the most broken spell in the game.
Oh, was it XP? It's level 3? Wait, go on.
It's short.
Right.
So, I don't know if you're aware of the spell. It makes you re-roll an attack, a spell attack. First level spell just outright makes you re-roll the attack.
Okay.
So, obviously, the enemy NPC had used it. So then when all the players went back and had a long rest, anyone that could equip it in their party equipped it.
Yeah.
And they said it was just carnage. It was just like, well, if you're going to use it, I'm going to use it. If you're going to use it, I'm going to give it to the rest of the party. And then, because the DM was getting annoyed, all the NPCs had it. And it was just, everyone was just rolling constantly. Like, you're basically just rolling disadvantage all of the time.
Yeah.
I was like, well, maybe boost its level.
Yeah.
Like, for a level 1 spell, that is a bit insane, making people re-roll.
But then what do you think about Lucky? Because that's something I like to take, and I very rarely am a player, but I would always go Lucky. Is that broken? It's a bit Prince of Persia, the game, where you rewind time and try again.
Yeah. I mean, how does Lucky work again? Is it
3 rerolls? 3. Yeah, 3. It's a lot.
That's per day as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is a lot. Yeah.
It is, because then everyone's got inspiration from something. That's boring.
Almost like it could entirely change the outcome of a fight.
Yeah, but having said that, I love it and I allow it. So
yeah,
it's in the book.
I mean, there's certain things where like you can't not allow them just because they are a little bit broken, because the whole game would be disallowed if everything was.
Yeah, well, Fireball wouldn't be allowed, would it? Meteor Swarm wouldn't be allowed.
Like, I think the one thing that always confuses me, I get it with some things, like Careful Spell.
Oh, because I'm not a player, you'll have to say.
It's basically where you can use sorcery points to decide who gets affected by a spell.
Okay, yes, I get you. I remember.
So you've got like a group of enemy NPCs, but you've got friendlies in there as well. You cast a fireball, and the fireball can miss your friends.
Right.
I'm like, well, that should be about positioning. You shouldn't just be able to choose.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense at all.
Especially when Fireball goes around corners, so it's like inhibited by all that. It's a proper explosion.
Yeah.
And yet there's pockets where it doesn't. Surely I wouldn't mind it if they reworded it like you can put a shield around individual players for area effect.
Yeah.
You know.
But not just to be able to, like, I don't know. I mean, it's magic, isn't it? So,
you know,
at the end of the day,
said, why can you even do a dexterity check against Fireball? Have you tried dodging fire?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, even if you, like, dive completely out of the way, you're still gonna...
Yeah, take damage of heat, won't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think with D&D, I think if you get the right group, which luckily I've got 2 groups running the same campaign. So, and they're both excellent. Like, but it's great to run the same campaign at the same time with 2 different groups.
Yes, I bet.
Just to see so how diverse it can actually be.
Yeah.
Like, some things have happened already in the second group that the first group haven't even found yet, and they've been playing a lot longer.
Yeah.
And then, like, vice versa, they handle stuff completely differently. There's been, like, fights that have been completely negated because they decided to talk to someone instead of rushing in, like, headstrong.
Are they in parallel games, or are they in the same worlds fighting over the same resources?
Oh, different games. Completely different games, yeah.
Because that is quite a good idea. I know that someone on the podcast ran Tomb of Annihilation twice, and when the second party got to a place, it was like, oh, we don't have it anymore. We've given it to some other adventurers.
Ah,
you know?
That's cool.
Yeah, it's hard work though, surely.
Oh, I bet that's a lot of chopping and changing where you've got things and who's got what.
Yeah, pretty cool. So how often do you play? You got 2 groups?
Well, all we do, we tried all sorts to sort it out. I think everyone knows when you get into D&D, I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
So normally at the beginning of the month, we'll go on like calendar on your phone, screenshot it, go on edit, and sort of just cross out what days you're not free. Yeah. Whichever one's left available at the end. Right. Gets between the 2 groups.
So it literally changes most months. You don't say, look, every second Sunday that's D&D.
No.
Yeah, that's fair. Things change.
With me working like shifts and stuff like that, so it's like as and when really. We try to get one Saturday or Sunday in a month so we can do like a longer game.
How long?
With normal games, like during the week, we play 6 till 10.
Oh, so that's a wedge of time.
And then like a Saturday, if we manage to get a Saturday session in, we'll still finish at about 10, half 10, but we might start at 12 or 2.
Ooh, I'm jealous.
And just a few like breaks, obviously dinner breaks, and just some time to let your brain sort of
That's awesome.
Itself.
Let everyone check the social media just because they want to.
To be honest, it's one thing that I noticed, even in like the 4-hour games, if you have like a half an hour break, you tend to lose less game time. That makes sense.
Know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying.
So like you let them sit there on the phone for half an hour. It sounds like a boss, don't I?
Right, in a way, aren't you?
Like, if you
I
sit
want
right
6 hours of your time.
yeah, like for right, we're gonna have a break for half an hour. Everyone sits on the phone, gets something to eat, has a drink, whatever.
Yeah.
Mainly on the phone. As soon as you go back to the table, you don't feel the need to sit and scroll on the phone anymore.
Yeah.
So just checked everything.
Yeah. Are you up on Project Black Flag's latest release, the Tales of the Valiant? Doom dice, mate, right? So there's this new thing called Doom dice. Like a red dragon has 3 Doom dice. And it's basically like tokens that can be spent. They can be gained if the player rolls a nat 1. The enemy gets a 1. It can be spent on forcing the player to roll with disadvantage. It's like the monster's got the upper hand, or it can be spent on, what's the word? Legendary actions.
Yeah.
These tokens, like a red dragon, that's how it's worked out. It's how it's done these days. These tokens. So if a dragon builds up in a fight 2 more legendary actions because you're fluffing it as players, then they can do these. And I like that. That's one of the very few things I like.
There's a lot to be said for certain creatures not being scary enough, almost.
Yeah.
Like, the red dragon, they're dangerous. Yes, the fire breath, lethal. But I don't think, are the players going to go in really terrified of fighting this red dragon?
Yeah.
Like, compared to how they actually should feel going into fight an ancient red dragon.
Counting the times that they've done a legendary save, like, all right, it's saved 3 times, it don't have it anymore.
Yeah, that gets me. That really gets me, that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can't be helped. Sometimes, like, metagaming happens and you like, if you get them fighting some werewolves or something like that, or a vampire, like, they know what it is. Like,
what I prefer to do then is swap out like breath weapons and what they expect with some sort of weird cinematic move, like the wing off some of the cave and the cave falls on the player, but it's the same damage as a breath weapon.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you're not cheating as a DM, but they're like, wait, I didn't expect to have shield on for this.
I like that. I do like that. With having other DMs as players, like, they can't help but know it.
Yeah.
And I understand you've got to try your best not to, like, metagame and realise what your character would know against what you know.
Yeah.
But I suppose it depends, really, I think, how common these things are in the world. Because, like, if you live in that world and you've heard of vampires, then you would know what, even if they were just myth.
Yeah, you know a lot about them,
Yeah, like, vampires aren't real in our world, but if I ever came up against one, because I've read stuff about vampires, I'd know what to do.
Why can't they pass running water? What's that all about?
And it can turn into, like, smoke, but they can't get past running water.
Yeah, well, I'll just pour a water skin on his head then.
Yeah. What I want to do with this, like, I mean, it might go so badly wrong. Like, I'm going to try the first few sessions and see how it works. But what I want to do is, with it being a full sandbox game where they can just explore where they want, essentially.
Yeah.
I want it to feel more like a living world. So I don't. Obviously, the challenge rating thing is a thing, but I don't want to run encounters based on challenge rating. If they go into a forest and it's the home of a hill giant, like, that's where he lives. He's not going to not be there just because they're not strong enough to fight him.
I agree. I do that in my homebrew world. I'm like, I put them on the map. I'm like, right, there's a big dragon there. If you want to walk over there at level 1, then that's your... Yeah, I don't want them thinking, well, I'm obviously level 2, so we can only really be... No, you walked into its field.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's just one of them things where I think it does take away from the immersion a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, we're in this world, but we can't get hurt, really, because everything we bump into is the same level as us.
Yeah. I won't say what module it is, but playing a module where there were 4 or 5 of us at level 4 or 5, and suddenly the enemy was challenge 11, where we're all like, oh, this sounds a bit... And he showed me the damage as a DM to DM, and I was like, wow, that's just a game killer. Do they want us to finish this game? And this was like a side quest. It was like, totally unnecessary, But the story seemed to be saying, well, I'll give you this if you kill that. And it's like, well, we can't kill that. And yet we have to, because otherwise the game's over. Or that we do and the game's over because you kill us.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
There's a similar thing in a module that I played. I think you're only level 2.
Yeah.
And you go up against you're in like a cave system.
Yeah.
And you end up fighting with a hag.
Mm.
And she has a frost giant skeleton.
All right.
And level 2. And I'm like, are you serious? Like,
yeah.
Multi-attack would literally kill half the party.
Mm.
Like their hit points are less than its average damage. Like, I don't know how they expect you to get around stuff like that. I mean, obviously change things as a DM, but
and like hags are quite difficult, I found, because everyone recognises a hag straight off. Oh yeah, a woman in a cottage.
It's so hard to not make things cliche because they're cliche because it's the coolest way of doing it.
Yeah, you want that fear of this could be a hag, guys.
Yeah, like you don't. Where else would you put one? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the cottage, in the woods. That's where she lives. That's where she lives.
You don't see like a hag as a merchant really, working in a clean superstore.
What's your opinion on voices, accents being stereotypical for certain races?
I couldn't care less.
No.
I couldn't, because we're there to have fun. I think at my table nobody would be offended. The only reason I don't do the Scottish and the Irish and things like that is because I can't do them well, and my other players probably could. And so I just do ridiculous speed up or slow down my voice, go slightly high. Or I seem to imagine, like I was telling my son the other day, I will maybe say in my head, this guy is a wizard. So I'm going to do Sir Ian McKellen. But I know I can't do Sir Ian McKellen. But every time I channel him, this weird voice will be me trying to do Sir Ian McKellen. So I'll always get it right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, you know the astronomer Sir Patrick Moore?
Yeah.
Right, so I'll do a bad impression of Patrick Moore, but it won't be like him. So no one's like, well, that's just bloody that guy off the telly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I try and do that.
I think what I started doing, because obviously I just can't help it. Like, if you talk to a dwarf, he's got to be Scottish, right? I think that's just a thing. Like,
it's one of those touchstones, like you say. You want them to know what it is quickly.
Yeah, like, but because I couldn't do a couple of accents and stuff like that, but changing the pitch in an accent, that's a bit of a different thing. Like, I can't. So I'm just trying to build personality of the characters. So they all might sound pretty similar, but they'll all have their own mannerisms and their own personalities, and that's how they play. Like, I'd rather the players can tell them apart via who they are rather than how I sound.
But have you ever had a big bad without that big bad voice? You guys, have you ever gone, hey guys, and he's a big bad villain? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always think if they're meeting one of these shady bandits, and I'm like, well, it's a real giveaway when they're like, give us your money or you're gonna. I always think, no, I'm gonna make this guy a really nice guy, but they're gonna immediately think he's not.
Yeah.
Can there any change? And all he wants is to feed his family, his orphan, his orphans and stuff. And so they're like, well, listen to him, he's obviously a bad guy. And I'm like,
I too much because I know a couple of the players are going to watch the video when you put it out.
Yeah.
But there's somewhere in this next campaign that is sort of entirely like that. That whole place is a bit like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes at it, you go, oh, God, I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
But actually, it's just a normal place.
Yeah. It's good. You've got to keep mixing it up, haven't you?
I think, I mean, like you say, I think some cliches are there for a reason because they just work. The hag in the forest.
It speeds up the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, like she's like you said, she's not going to be like living in a 3-story townhouse, is she? You know what I mean? Like,
no, exactly. But not all hags are. I think of witches are like in real life. Like there's cultist witches, and then there's white witches who are just like druids, effectively. And it's like, yeah, I'm a witch, but you haven't asked me. You've not even asked me what sort of things I dabble in.
You just assumed.
I'm a healer. I'm what you might call a cleric, but
I mean, there's the whole thing of like alignment and stuff like that as well. I don't think that's. I don't know how you can have that as a racial thing. Like,
no one's black and white, are they?
And then the one that I've changed the most, I think, is like the environment and stuff for dragons. Like reds live in mountains, greens live in forests, and blues live in the depths. Live wherever they want. The dragons.
Yeah.
It's telling them where they can and can't live.
Yeah. Do you use you've got layer actions. Do you ever use regional actions? They're a mile away from the lair, aren't they?
Yeah, I use regional effects.
Is that what I mean? What I'm talking of, like beholders, where the eyes start to pop up. Or no, they get first of all a mile away from a beholder. They get the sense of being watched.
All right. Okay.
There's things like that, but it's like wow, a mile away. Is that good? Am I just saying hey? But yeah, it's like there's obviously a beholder from between here and a mile away, but you don't know which direction. But my players don't pick up on it. They just.
Well, I was gonna say, I think sometimes it depends. Like I said, like both my parties are really good. They take notes. They're quite detailed.
Yeah.
But I don't think they pick up on something like that. If I said I feel like you're getting watched, that'd take them completely off topic. Like they could be going where they're meant to be going. They might be going to a beholder if that was the case. And then I say you feel like you're getting watched, they go and start rummaging around some wood or something.
Yeah.
They feel like something's closer to them than where.
Yeah, that's story beat. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like if I told them they were being watched, they'd think that I meant there, like immediately in their vicinity.
Yeah.
So I think it would just depend on where they were. And I like the regional effects of dragons, like the whole like thunderstorms and whatnot for blues and
yeah.
But I mean, I even did it for the giants and stuff as well. To be fair, there was a couple of like storm giants in the campaign. I even had it for them because I think it's just they're massively like attuned to their elements. You know what I mean? They're massive beings. Like they technically, well, they can control the elements. Like so, I think you need some things are far too feared. I think like a gelatinous cube. Like a gelatinous cube, and they'll see a storm giant and they think it's cool.
Yes.
I want them to be terrified of the storm giant, not jelly cube.
Yeah. Storm giants and all giants should have a stomp move where they're just going to walk you and you're dead outright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like another one of them things where like that should be a thing, but it's got to be like it has to be a natural 20.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you roll a natural 20 as a giant, you can stand on someone.
Yeah.
That's it. Like because this is the scale of them. Like they could pick someone up and just crush them. There are things like that where it's really hard to thematically explain some stuff.
Yeah.
If you're stood 10 feet away from a giant with a longbow, you're not missed.
No, exactly. Should have a low AC for that, shouldn't they? Like 5. It's like you're not going to miss it.
Like the closer you get to it, like its AC should drop.
Yeah. But it might not do enough damage, you know. An arrow in the kneecap of a giant's a giant, you know. We've all been stung by an L.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's like stabbing someone with a toothpick.
Yeah, I get a lot of the time. There's the blooded thing of signifying it's below half hit points. Like, how injured is it? And it's like, well, you don't know, do you? You get up as if you're on full health on 1 hit point. So why, what does it matter? Yeah. I
just think there needs to be. I think there's always going to be a stigma around D&D of what people think it is compared to what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I think people think that we sit around a table in wizard's hats and
that's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, it's literally just a group of mates having a laugh. Like that's all it is. I imagine some tables very don't break immersion. We'll have a break in a bit, and that's when we can talk out of character. But I think you've got to have a laugh and a joke while you're playing. Otherwise, what's the point in playing?
I think the humorous element is under advertised. It's
100%.
Not in it. I know they say have fun, but it doesn't say have a laugh.
Yeah. Like someone will say something in character, but it'll completely break the table because they just don't think about what they're saying, and it comes out completely wrong, and you have everyone in hysterics for like 10 minutes. And...
Yeah, our tables are laughing every weekend. It's like it's daft, you know.
Like I shouldn't really like. I don't know whether it's appropriate, right? They'd done like a little one shot and they'd gone into this mine, and the fighter had killed like 20 of these undead miners.
Okay.
So then the barbarian decided that he was going to nickname him the Miner Basher.
Okay.
And that news spread all the way around the city by the time it got back. So everybody went into, it's the famous Miner Basher. And I'm like, oh, God, this is going to go on forever.
Yeah. Or when you have someone who's playing an undead character, like a vampire, and then they want to walk into a big city.
Yeah.
You're a vampire, for God's sake. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's sometimes like one of my favourite things is probably when I haven't prepared something enough, and they've all got like great names, really well thought out names, and then they'll bump into a guard and be like, "Oh, what's your name?" And he ends up being called Gary or Steve or like.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
So like.
Yeah. Well, so you're running 2 games. What sort of other things do you consume in the D&D world? Do you buy products? Do you watch things?
I watch a lot of. I've watched all Critical Role.
Oh wow, well done, because that's a lot of
Well,
hours.
I can't get into campaign 3.
No, I couldn't. No.
I don't know what it is. I don't know whether there's just no connect. What I said to my mate the other day, and he agreed. And I'd like to. I wonder if you think the same. Is it feels like the first 2 campaigns, the characters were written because that's what they wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
They were put in this world, which is incredible. Like how Mercer does that is just beyond me.
Yeah.
But the campaign 3, it feels like it's almost they've been written for the story.
Yeah, it's like a TV program.
Yeah, it's like they've been written because that's the characters that they needed in that story.
Yeah.
And I can't get any sort of like, you sort of got attached to them, like Grog. I loved Grog in campaign 1, and like his connection with Pike and how they had the whole thing. And then campaign 2, I think Jester was like the best character going. She was so good.
Yeah.
And then 3, like I've tried to watch it, and I'm like, watch as much as I could in case it changed. I think I got maybe 15 episodes.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't changing. I don't feel any different about this.
No.
I listened to Dungeons of Drakkenheim. I really enjoyed that.
Okay. Podcast?
Yeah, podcast. Yeah, Dungeon Dudes.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I've never watched them on YouTube play it, but I listened to the podcast of it, and it is quite descriptive. So I think it's one of them ones which actually works better as a podcast.
Yeah.
Like I said, I flick through D&D shorts every now and then, see what he's got on. What's the other guys called that do like the deep delve? They really help me with some of my story, like Dungeon Cast.
Yeah.
Where they'll pick like one monster and go right into the lore about it. And
yes, very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like I say, I've got the PH. I don't even own a Dungeon Master's guide.
Yeah. I was thinking that the other day. I was thinking nobody actually needs this.
Nah. Not if you've played enough. I think there's great things in there, like the dungeon generating tables, and like if you struggle. But I've got the PHP, I've got Monster Manual. The 3 things that I've found more helpful than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen them on Amazon. There's 3 books.
Masters. Yeah. NPCs.
Traps
and random encounters. Traps book. And that new one looks good. Villains and Minions. What's coming out?
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It's like, oh well, that's an obvious purchase.
Yeah, them 3 books they're invaluable.
They really are. Yeah, they're beautiful. And I've actually done it on the fly, like you're supposed to do, run a one shot, and it's basically piece by piece. You know, you roll a dice and you go to that, and it just works so well. Yeah. I
was struggling with this dragon encounter. I didn't think there was going to be enough build up. So I actually put one of the traps in, and it works really well as like an entrance into the dragon's actual chamber. So what I've done is I've had it, the dragon taking over this mountain, and some Duragar working in there. They've got a fort in the mountain, but they've ended up worshipping this dragon.
Yeah.
So they're sort of its little minions doing the run around, and the dragon maw trap from that trap book.
Right,
the nostrils, but you got to like put your hands in its nostrils or something, and then it activates loads of other stuff. But I was like, what better way to unlock a door into a dragon's chamber?
Yes, yeah, that's cool.
But like I said, even the NPC one, it's got like really detailed ones, and then it's just got lists of names at the back.
Yeah, and then really easy ones. Perfect. Yeah, it's really good. I don't really know who those guys are, but they're smashing it.
No,
yeah.
I think it's good just to take bits from as well. Like there was another, what I'd done with the mine one shot that I just mentioned before. There was another party that had been sent in to do the same thing.
Okay.
They got caught like stealing the gems by my party.
Yeah.
So it was like a party of NPCs essentially. But in one of them random encounter books, the encounter itself had like a group of bandits that were all different classes and stuff like that. So I just and put them into the mine.
Yeah.
Didn't use the but just took the idea of that's already a party set up there.
Yeah.
I'll just move them. But yeah, I think you can get But when it comes to minis and stuff like that, luckily my friend like started up his own printing business.
Lovely.
So it's all right for now because he's not playing. But obviously, if he was to rejoin as a party member, I can't really tell him what to print.
No, that's
Right?
Well, Adam, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I've really enjoyed that. Thank you so much.
It's nice to get. It's nice to just sit down and talk D&D sometimes. I think.
Maybe we'll do it another day, one time. And if anyone else wants to do the same thing as Adam here, then get in touch with me via our Facebook page and DM me. Thanks again, Adam.
All right. Thanks very much.